Welcome back. Today is Crunchy Burrito Day. This is one of our family favorites. It's great for kids to help in the kitchen or grandkids, and even husbands who aren't used to cooking can make this. So I just want to show you a quick recipe that's good anytime. I've taken some cannellini beans or navy beans, white beans of some sort. And I have 2 cans of them in here. And I'm just going to mush them with a fork, kind of like we did when we made guacamole. They don't have to be really mushed. Again, you could put this in the food processor, but I tried to avoid using a lot of equipment when I make these because it's just a really quick recipe. Doesn't take but a couple of minutes or less to smush them. And it's okay if there's some whole beans in there too. Kind of adds to the texture of the whole thing. So that's about right. It just kind of makes a little bit of a paste. And then this is a can of Rotel tomatoes. It has spices, jalapenos in it, and peppers. So you can use whatever. You can use mild or hot or original. The original is kind of spicy. If you don't have Rotel tomatoes, you can use a small can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes, or you could put fresh tomatoes in it also. It'd probably be a cup to a cup and a half of fresh tomatoes. And then you could add some green chilies or jalapeno, whatever you like. So that's what we're going to do there. We're going to put, we're just going to do a half a teaspoon of salt to start with. A teaspoon of cumin. As you can tell over these recipes, I like cumin. I like it a lot. And garlic. And again, add the flavors that you like. Spice it up. The white beans just kind of give it a really nice light flavor. You could use black beans, pinto beans, even kidney beans, just whatever that you would prefer. Now I use sprouted grain tortillas. If you have gluten intolerance, you can use rice tortillas or whatever gluten-free tortillas you want. The sprouted grain I like because they don't have a lot of, they just have sprouted grains. And the sprouted grains tend not to bother me the way ground flour or processed flour would. So all we're going to do is just lay a tortilla. And these are good. You could use corn tortillas too if you wanted. Make sure they're organic or non-GMO. And you're just going to spread this on half. Now remember, we made the chipotle sour cream. Again, chipotle sour cream would be great on this. Or you could just spread it on first, put your beans. And we're going to fold it. If the chipotle sour cream is nice because it replaces cheese. If you use a vegan cheese or you want to put regular cheese in there, now would be the time to do that. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of cilantro in there. Just going to spread that around. And then I'm going to take coconut oil. I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit on this side. I'm going to stick it in the pan. And put a little bit on this side. You want your pan to be nice and hot. I think my heat got turned down just a little bit. Let me grab a spatula here. So you're just going to cook this until it's brown. And once it's brown, you're going to flip it over, or kind of crunchy on the other side. That's why we call them crunchy burritos. And then you can lay them out, let it cool for just a minute or less, and slice them. And then eat them like a quesadilla. Today we're going to eat it with guacamole and salsa. You could eat it with whatever else you'd like. I try to stay away from processed things, you know, that nacho cheese that people like that's full of calories and no nutrition. So that's why making the nut-based cheeses are really good. So once this, and it just stays, so you can fit 2 of them in a pan here. They cook very quickly. So even if you're making them for a family, you can cook them, put this in the oven to stay warm if you want on a cookie sheet. But this takes just minutes to make. This is just a real easy go-to meal. There's times that when we want fast food, for me this is fast food. Because it's Mexican, it reminds me of a quesadilla. It reminds me of the things that I liked before that didn't like my body, or that my body didn't like. And so this is always something, if I'm wanting junk food, if I'm really feeling weak with my choices, I will make crunchy burritos and dip it in guacamole and salsa, and I feel like I'm having just a really good treat, and I am, but it's also good for me. So this is one of my ways that I can avoid making bad choices for my health. Oops, I flipped it. Okay, so that just needs to cook for a couple more minutes, and it'll be good to go. If you fill them too full when you cut them, you're going to squish everything out. So if they are kind of full, you want it to set just a little bit longer and let it cool, so that doesn't take place. This also keeps well. You could use 1 can of beans if you wanted, and the tomatoes, even a full can of tomatoes, is still going to be good. Again, add the spices that you want. I like to put jalapeno in mine because I like the spice, but you don't have to. You can actually add the cilantro. We can do that with the rest of this. We can put it right in here. Some stems that didn't get cut. We'll just stir that right in. If you wanted to put some onion in here, you could. Sometimes the beans use that. You see how it's getting a nice brown color to it. The other side's almost done. And again, this is something that we've pulled out when I've had friends over, friends with kids or grandkids, and it's an easy meal, but it's become a favorite of everyone. I put it in my newsletter a couple months ago, and I've had some people comment on how this has become their go-to meal because it is so easy and it's so tasty. Okay, so you're going to let this sit for just a minute. And if you just take it and chop it quickly, you won't lose everything out as much as you would if you try to cut it slowly. Now I like to serve mine on a big bed of shredded lettuce. And I will put just a little dollop of guacamole on there. And some salsa. And there you have crunchy burritos at their best. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated to eat healthy. I think so many times we think that in order to eat healthy, we have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. And you can see that you can make raw food, you can make cooked food that's plant-based, that's healthy in just a matter of minutes. This recipe you can really make in about 15 minutes, start to finish. And that's with the cooking time. So I just encourage you to play with recipes and don't think that it's hard to eat healthy. You know, I hope by now your thinking has changed, that you know that you can make some delightful recipes out of plant-based foods, out of healthy options compared to what you used to eat, and that you can make this a sustainable lifestyle for yourself. So again, I just encourage you to make better choices today so tomorrow can be your best, so you can live in optimum health. See you next week.